Hitting the R hotkey will bring up the scaling manipulator, and of course hitting Shift R will set keyframes on the selected object for just the scale channels. If we take a look at our object here back in our scene, you can see that if I hit the R key, I have the ability to scale the object in different directions. I can hold the Shift middle mouse button down on any of the manipulators and scale in a constrained fashion. But one thing that you see here is that I've got a problem. My orientation is off for this particular object. Now if I hold the R key down and left mouse button click on top of it, I can go into object mode, but I'm still off on my orientation. So the way to fix that is to go into the scale options, and you can see over here to the right, just by holding down the marking menu, it's found down at the bottom. And I can set that manipulator to be oriented to anything I want. I can pick an edge on another object. In this case, it's probably going to work best if I orient it to this top edge here, or any of the edges that are perpendicular to the direction that I want to scale. So if I hit select edge, I'll click this guy, and now you can see I can scale non-proportionally to the edge in the direction that I want. So that is the there's a lot of different options to the scale tool, and of course those are accessed using the R hotkey. So the S hotkey is useful obviously for animation because it just lets you set keyframes. Shift S allows you to do some things in the graph editor in terms of changing and deleting and operating on animation curves and keyframes. So for this example, I've got an animated object in my scene. We'll just grab our flag, and you can see that the curves are there that are associated with it. If I scrub through in the timeline here and just say, well, I want to set a keyframe here, all I have to do is hit S. So that's how simple that is. If you want any options under the Animate menu, there are set key options with regards to how you go about setting those keyframes. And of course you also have the auto keyframe option as well. So Shift S is pretty nice because it allows you to go in and delete keys, and you can delete them according to some options. You can convert to keys, convert to breakdowns, you can cut, copy, and paste keys, and basically go in and do some different things just by swiping instead of going up to a menu. So in this case, if I want to delete those keys that I created just a minute ago, all I have to do is delete those keys, and it's that simple. So that's how the S and Shift S hotkey work. The T hotkey is used to show a manipulator in a variety of different places, from cameras to lights and deformers, even particle emitters. So I'll show you one example and just give you a couple of other ideas of where you can see them. But for here, I'm just going to assign a lattice to my object, and we'll up the number of subdivisions that go into it. And I'm going to create on top of that a nonlinear squash. So typically you'd find the controls for this manipulator or for this deformer over in the channel box, and if you wanted to change something, you just middle mouse button drag the virtual slider in the scene to change the value inside the channel box. But by hitting the T key, you get a really nice interactive manipulator that's a little bit more controllable and gives you access to all of the controls for this deformer right at your fingertips. So this is a pretty nice way of controlling how this works. You can change things like the max expand position, the upper and lower bounds, as well as the amount of effect that the deformer is having. One other place that you can find it is on a light. So if I grab my light and hit the T key, you can see that it gives me a secondary manipulator that allows me to change the position, and a toggle that allows me to go through different attributes that are associated with that light. They also show up on particle emitters, as well as places like extrude tools. So you can bring up the extrude manipulator by hitting the T key, and that is how that works. If I wanted to assign a new material to this object, hitting Shift T would just bring up my assign new material, and I could just click on, say, a blend, and it automatically gets assigned to that object. So again, a couple of really quick and fast ways of doing things that might take a little longer elsewhere in the user interface.